Athens, the capital of Greece, one of the world's most ancient cities, the birthplace of Western civilization and democracy. That and much more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360, coming to you today from the ancient city of Athens, Greece. When the Apostle Paul came here some 2,000 years ago, he found a mission field. The city was full of idols, and we know that when Paul spent a couple of days here, he walked through the city and he said, "I looked carefully." When he was in the marketplace, he spoke to people about religious things. Then he went to the Jewish synagogue and he talked to the Jews about Jesus. And then he was invited right up here to Mars Hill, to the Areopagus, right next to the Acropolis. And here he reasoned with the philosophers. The account in Acts chapter 17 tells us how Paul connected the good news of Jesus Christ with the culture in which he found these people. So he talked about the altar to the unknown God and how that pointed to the one true God. He even quoted their pagan poets. In him we live and move and have our being. And also, we are his offspring. And then he baptized it and gave it a meaning that connected to the good news about Jesus Christ. As we look at our mission today, we have the same challenge to make mission understandable, meaningful, and attractive to people in different cultures and different contexts. We'll be talking more about that on today's program, but first up, let's travel to East Timor.
The Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste is a country located in Southeast Asia. It lies on the eastern half of the island of Timor. This small yet beautiful island is home to 1.2 million people, who make up one of two predominantly Christian nations in Southeast Asia. Statistically, 98% of Timorese people are Catholic. East Timor's official languages are Portuguese and Tetum, which help explain the history of this country. After 450 years of Portuguese colonization, East Timor was almost instantly brought under its neighbor Indonesia. It was only recently, in 2002, that East Timor became independent, the first new democracy of the 21st century. The Seventh-day Adventist Church was first organized in this new country in 2009. Currently, there is one official church, 3 companies, and some 500 members spread throughout the island. Today is Sabbath here in Timor-Leste, and we are inside the only Seventh-day Adventist church on this remote island. The people here are happy, and they have a place to worship the God who made them. They sing. They study. They hear the Word of God. They raise their voices high in gratitude for God's grace and protection. Adventist members in Timor-Leste face regular difficulties when they join the church and start following the biblical Sabbath. Members are often rejected, persecuted, threatened, expelled or fired, and at times physically attacked. This is Los Palos, a remote town on the eastern shore of Timor-Leste. We came here to visit an Adventist member who took a brave stand for God. Joaquina is a Seventh-day Adventist member who lives in Los Palos. Her home is humble. It is also her shop and workplace. Joaquina is a tailor. She sews clothes, purses, and many creative items to earn a living. Joaquina has a physical condition that causes her a lot of pain and challenges. One day she felt so weak that she prayed for God to help her. It was then that 2 Adventist missionaries came to her house, prayed with her, and gave her a Bible. As Joaquina learned the Bible, she decided to become a Seventh-day Adventist. Unfortunately, there is religious discrimination in this area. Soon, Joaquina's neighbors filed an unjust complaint against her, and she was taken by the police. It was a difficult time for Joaquina, but after this incident, she became even more encouraged to abide by her Bible-based faith. She made the decision to be baptized and join the small local Seventh-day Adventist group. Her persecution is still evident at times, but Joaquina finds the opportunity to speak about God every chance she gets. On Saturdays, she closes her shop, and people have to wait until after Sabbath for her services. This small community in Los Palos is working hard to plant a new church. There are also other groups in Timor-Leste who ask for your prayer and support for the many challenges they face daily as they follow Jesus. Please pray for the people here. Pray also for the global mission pioneers and missionaries working in this beautiful new nation.
My guest is Pastor Claudio Goulias, who is the president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Greece. Pastor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity.
And in a very historic place. Please tell our viewers where we are standing.
Now we are standing, there are a lot of stones around, and we are standing a lot of stones. It has to do with the place where Apostle Paul was here challenging the Athenians and telling them about the unknown God. So it's a very famous place, very well known from the biblical perspective. And also we are in a country where the democracy was born. So it's a very important place.
So we're standing on Mars Hill where the Areopagus met, and we understand from Acts 17 that Paul was down there in the marketplace talking about Jesus and came up here. Now we're some 2,000 years later, and we see it's obviously a very different place in many ways. But the good news about Jesus is still being shared in this city. And what about the Seventh-day Adventist Church specifically? What sort of activities are we involved in here?
Now with this financial crisis, we have 2 challenges and opportunities at the same time. The challenge is dealing with this environment, Greek Orthodox postmodern environment. Everything is relativity, no interest in other religion, belief. So, but in the same time, this crisis have done a very important thing. It changed the way that people see life and changed their orientation. So they are more open, not specifically to religion, but to any kind of help from outside. So we are working in that way, because public evangelism is very difficult here.
Yes.
People will not come, an open event. So we are trying to approach them on one-to-one evangelism.
Yeah.
And they are more sensitive to the human needs, and we are working on that level.
I'm guessing, Pastor, if you were to rent a hall here in Athens and invite people to come to hear some talks on spiritual things, you would probably find an empty audience.
They will not come. Probably very few. They will not. They are not interested in that right now.
Yeah.
They are interested in what I'm going to eat tomorrow. They've lost their jobs. So we have to work on that level.
Yeah.
To meet their needs first.
Now I'm guessing that Adventism is probably seen as some sort of a foreign group. It's not seen as a Greek-owned thing. Is that right? Tell me about that.
Yes, you're very right. And basically here, if you are an Orthodox, you have to be a Greek.
Right.
It's very strong connected with the nationality.
So it's almost like a state religion to be
State
Greek.
religion, you're right.
Yeah.
And has a very big influence and impact on people's life. Even though they say we are Orthodox Greeks, but usually they don't attend the church, they are not open to any other religion, something
Right.
different.
So it's more a cultural commitment for most people. And I guess in many parts of the world, those of us who call ourselves Christians, we may only go to church for Easter or or a wedding or something like that. So you were talking to me earlier about the early stages of a plan for a centre of influence, a centre of hope here in the city. What sort of thing would you like to see happen?
What we would like to do is, based on their needs, is try to cooperate with some professionals like doctors, lawyers, to rent a place, and each day to have a different person, a lawyer one day for a couple of hours to give advice for free to the people. The next day we have a doctor, medical doctor, to give them advice on medical issues. Another day probably something that has to do with the family, something like that, to give them advice for free.
Yeah.
To the people, and it will work, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure it'll work too, because it's basically Christ's method of ministry, isn't it? Where you're mingling, you're showing sympathy, and you're ministering to needs. Do you have within the church the sort of professionals you would need for this?
We have, but not as much as we want.
Right.
So we have to go outside,
Yes.
which is very good.
Yes.
It's perfect.
Because you're involving the community in a community service.
And they feel like they are doing something good for the
Yeah.
society. As I say earlier, this crisis makes people to be more sensitive
Yes.
to other people's needs. So I think it would be a big problem to find volunteers
Yeah.
to do that for the people.
As you look to the future, what are your hopes? What would you like to see happen here in Greece
I mean, for the
church?
church.
Yeah.
From my point of view, we are working now on and trying to focus not on numbers to
Yes.
have baptism, but to go out and to live our doctrines, to live what we believe,
Yes.
to mingle with people, to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world. So that's we are working on that, to be really involved in the society, to make God known in Greece.
Yes.
So, okay, the outcome it will be to have some baptism, but it's not that the focus on baptism. To live our life. That's I'm looking for, to get in, for the Greek Adventist Church to be known in Greek society.
Yeah. Because you're reminding us that we're really called to be faithful. The baptisms are the work of the Holy Spirit. Well, when we look at a city like Athens, how many people do we have here? I mean, we have millions upon millions of people, and I guess rather than having someone come and preach at them, they're wanting someone who can show how Christianity works in practice.
You're right.
Yeah.
People are more interested now to be there,
Yeah.
to help them,
Yeah.
just to see that we are human beings as they are.
Well, when we go back 2,000 years to when Paul stood here, he actually taught us that principle. Just don't come and preach at the people. You listen to them first, and then you connect it to their needs. Pastor
Okay,
Claudio,
right.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Athens, Greece. Next up, we travel to the beautifully located Lakeside Hospital in Sri Lanka. Thanks to your 13 Sabbath offerings, this facility is alive and flourishing today. Over to you, Doug.
Thanks, Gary. I'm here in Kandy, Sri Lanka, formerly known as Ceylon, with my good friend, Brother Percy Dias, and he is serving as the hospital president here at this hospital called Lakeside Adventist Hospital. Good to have you on the show here. Brother Percy, how long have you served here as the hospital administrator?
I have been serving for the last 24 years as the hospital president.
Wow, so you've seen all kinds of changes.
Definitely, yes.
This hospital was first founded and through the generous offering and of our church members all around the world through the 13th Sabbath offering.
I'd like to thankful for the World Church for helping us with that money And we purchased this piece of land and the little building to start our clinic. And from that day onward, we start with 6 beds, and now we have 50 beds. And in future, we are planning to have 75 beds.
Wow, that's great to see that you guys are here serving your community just like Christ did. Can you tell us how have different lives been changed through the ministry of this hospital?
Yeah, this is the only Christian hospital in Kandy. And we have started the health education, nursing training, and various other programs here for the community, because the community knows that this hospital is a special hospital because of the service that we give to them.
Wow, that's great. Brother Percy, I see a door over here. Can you tell us just some history behind, what's the story behind that door?
Yeah, that door, when we purchased the piece of land, we had a first building, and when we built the new hospital, we thought that's going to be a history piece. So because of that reason, we fixed that door there to patient to see. And it says the first patient worked through this door in 1965.
Wow, that's great. So now this hospital has been serving this community for 50 years.
Yes.
And what would have happened if the members around the world, common people sacrificing to give their 13th Sabbath offering, what if they didn't give their money? Could this hospital have started?
Definitely, I won't think we will have a hospital. But because of that generous contribution, now we can give the health message to the people. Through the health message, we can show the love of Christ. So that's a very special thing from this hospital we can show to the community.
We're here in the lobby of the hospital, and Brother Dias, can you tell us, what's this picture here?
Yeah, this is the first building. When we purchased this piece of land, this is the first building. Now to put up a new building, we have demolished this building. So that door is from this building.
Ah, very good. Brother Percy, can you share the story of one person's life who was changed as a result of the ministry of the hospital?
Yes, of course. We had a staff here, and he was addicted to alcohol. And day and night he comes to the hospital, and we had to take him home. And even his family has rejected him because he was addicted to alcohol. But we have been talking to him, we have been praying with him, and then now he became a departmental director here.
Wow.
And he has stopped all his bad habits. And he said because of Lakeside, his family is happy, he is happy, and he gave a great service to the hospital.
Wow, very great. That's the kind of story we like to hear of when we follow Christ's method alone, that we're able to meet those practical needs, and God is able to change the lives of so many. Can you now just wanted to say thank you for hosting us here, and to see the result of the sacrifice of our church members all around the world, every 13 Sabbaths, that we're able then to give through this Sabbath School mission offering to help change the lives of people around the planet through hospitals like this one here in Kandy, Sri Lanka. Thanks for your generosity, and Gary, back to you.
Next up, we travel to Bangladesh, one of the world's most densely populated countries.
Dhaka is the capital of Bangladesh. It's the 10th largest city in the world and one of the most densely populated places on the planet. This city has an estimated population of more than 15 million people in the greater Dhaka area. In Dhaka, rush hour traffic can stand still for more than 7 hours a day. Here, traffic lights seem mere decoration, as hundreds of thousands of rickshaws, buses, carts, bicycles, cars, and motorbikes battle for space. It might be quicker to walk. As we drive outside the downtown area, we find beautiful sights along the river Turag. In this area, water is pumped from the river into pools. As the water evaporates, the sand settles and more land opens up for new families to live and work. A common sight along the river are brick factories. Here, people take advantage of the water and mud from the river to bake thousands of bricks in a single day. It's a long and careful process that families like this one perform on a daily basis. Besides the chilly mornings, conditions around here are harsh and very uncomfortable. Workers here worry about their safety as they live in temporary houses made with stacked bricks without cement to hold it together. The parents in this factory work hard They worry about a future for their kids. What will become of them? Opportunities for growth and studies are very limited as people's budget can hardly supply the basic necessities such as food and clothing. A little further outside the city, we arrive at Basque. This is a Seventh-day Adventist training center that is focusing on the young minds of the surrounding communities. Here, Adventist teachers train the students for a future of service to God and society. Education is the only sure path into a brighter future. Today is graduation day. The young children receive a diploma because they studied long and hard. The children are eager learners. They want to improve their family's condition. Most of the children you see in this room have never yet heard the wonderful hope that Jesus brings. Please pray for the people in Dhaka, this densely populated city of Bangladesh. And pray for the people in the cities around the world who are waiting to hear about the wonderful news of Jesus' salvation.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today on Mission 360, and I hope that you've enjoyed our 360-degree view of mission around the world. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, East Timor, Athens, so many places that are challenging mission fields today. And thank you so much for your continuing prayers and financial support for mission around the world. It does make a difference. Before we go, if you live in North America, I'd like to offer you a free gift. It's the book God's Great Missionaries. This book is full of stories of the examples of biblical characters who are involved in mission. And you'll find a couple of chapters on the Apostle Paul, who preached the gospel right here on Mars Hill. For Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.